It's rare that a cricket tournament that at this point in time is still a little under a year away could be getting as much attention as it is, but the return of the ICC Champions Trophy that is set to take place in 2025 is no ordinary trophy. First off, it was a very prestigious trophy that of course was introduced in the late 90s by ICC before it was discontinued in 2017 with Pakistan, the last victors of the trophy. But now it's being brought back, and Pakistan, on account of being the last victors, were given hosting rights. However, there are significant question marks over whether or not that could go ahead due to the very simple fact that, well, India and Pakistan do not get along politically, and it has been shown in the past. Just look at the 2023 Asia Cup that if India are uncomfortable traveling to Pakistan, then concessions can and will be made. And incidentally, the reason I mentioned the Asia Cup 2023 is because whilst the tournament was not entirely moved out of Pakistan, a hybrid model of sorts was adopted wherein India didn't need to travel to Pakistan. They played their games at a neutral venue. Now, there are potentially talks that something similar could be happening for the Champions Trophy as well. Here's what we know so far though. Now, what we know is that Pakistan do have hosting rights. That at this point is undisputed. But what we also know is that this story is a little bit of a ticking time bomb. You don't know when exactly it could blow up in your face. You don't know when exactly a diktat could arrive from the Indian government saying, no, no need to be traveling to Pakistan. So it is a story that until you get an official confirmation that yes, the Indian cricket team will be traveling to Pakistan, you always know that there's the potential of it going wrong. Now, the real question is, can it? Suggestions right now are coming in, and according to certain media reports, there's not going to be much forcing from the ICC. Now, why do I mention that forcing point? I'll get to that in just a bit. But first, let's take a look at what exactly is being said. Now, an ex-administrator has told the news agency PTI that the ICC board's position remains that it doesn't expect its members to go against any policy or instructions issued by its own government. What this basically means is that the ICC is not going to step in and try and tell the BCCI that, listen, if this is the diktat from the Indian government, you need to ignore it. Their policy is very hands-off, and they'll simply say, look, you do what it is that your government has told you. So their policy is not a forceful one, but rather, let's say, ensuring that things are done in a diplomatic manner, because as things stand, believe it or not, the ICC is still a little bit optimistic that maybe the government will have a softer stance. Don't believe me? Well, that same report has a quote from an ICC board member saying that this being a global event and not a continental one like the Asia Cup, the Indian government might take a softer stance. I mean, I don't really know how true that is. The only time you've seen India and Pakistan play is in world events and in, more importantly, neutral venues. Now, I know what a lot of people will be saying, that listen, the Indian tennis team did also travel to Pakistan to play a Davis Cup tie, and that's a fair argument to be made, but it ignores two major things. One, the amount of influence that the BCCI, being the richest board, has on the ICC, and B, perhaps more importantly in this case, the absolute lack of influence that they would have at the international tennis levels. Now, the reason that India traveled to Pakistan to play that Davis Cup tie was because the ITF, the International Tennis Federation, that organizes the Davis Cup, told them in no uncertain terms that you either play the tie in Pakistan because there's no problems there, or you forfeit all of the points. And if India had to forfeit the points, they would not be going back into Group 1 of the Davis Cup. They would have stayed in the second tier and would have to have waited another year to get a chance of being in Group 1. Basically, they had no sway, they had no pull, and they had no clout that they could use to their advantage. They did try to get it shifted, as it had happened a few years prior as well, but the ITF did not budge. Now, are you going to sit there and tell me that the BCCI doesn't have enough sway with the ICC that they could potentially ensure that there's a hybrid model? That way they're having their cake and eating it too. They'll ensure that they don't need to travel to Pakistan, but that technically hosting rights aren't being stripped away either. So it could happen. I'm just saying we don't have an official confirmation yet, but all the noises are being made, and sooner rather than later, you may very well see a confirmation that the 2025 Champions Trophy isn't going to be held solely in Pakistan. It will be in a hybrid mortal. But what are your thoughts on the entire matter? For me, I think it's a bit unnecessary. I think at this point you may as well just send the team, and maybe it would be a good way to end the trophy drought, to go to Pakistan, win back the trophy, take a little revenge for 2017. I would like that. But what do you guys think? You can let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and tap that bell icon as well. Also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTak app, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've posted as well. For now, from my side, it is goodbye.